today and see how glamorous you can look. Call 561-409-4065 to book your appointment. Ivy Lee's Luxe Makeup and Beauty Lounge is located at 233 South Federal Highway on the first floor of the Boca Grand Building in Boca Raton. The number again is 561-409-4065.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
It's the Becky and Boca Show, coming to you live every Thursday night at 6 p.m. from glamorous downtown Boca Raton. I'll show you how to live life in style in one of the country's most elegant cities, nestled right along the beautiful Atlantic beaches between Palm Beach and Miami. So sit back, relax, and let me show you how to indulge yourself Boca style.
Hello, welcome to the Becky and Boca Show. I have a couple here who have co-authored a book. The book is called The Painting and the Piano. It's an improbable story of survival and love. So I have Adrienne Lugo.
Yeah.
And John Lipscomb.
Hi, Becky.
Hi.
Hi.
But now your name has changed recently, right?
Yes.
You two got married in December?
In December, yes.
Okay, and this book is all based on your story?
Our life stories.
Your life stories. Okay. Why don't you guys start at the beginning?
Do you want to start with the title, how we came up with the
yeah,
title?
we were wondering about that in the green room.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you got to get closer to the mic.
Okay.
Both of you.
Okay. The Painting and the Piano is the title, and the piano belonged to my parents, my mother in particular, when I was a little boy growing up, and the piano saw all the things that happened in my life as a young boy.
Oh, okay.
And the painting, Adrienne's mother painted, and I'll let her tell that part of the story. But Adrienne moved in with me with her 3 girls about 12 years ago.
Oh.
And in the basement, I had...
Wait, were you dating, or were you just
we
renting her a room?
We had fallen in love. We dated, and I moved in with 3 teenage girls and 3 dogs.
Oh, aren't you brave?
Yeah, I'm up for sainthood.
Yes.
But Adrienne saw this thing that was wrapped up in the basement, and she asked me, what is it? And I go, well, it's a piano. She goes, well, why don't you unwrap it? And it never occurred to me that I should unwrap it. It had been wrapped up for almost 40 years.
And this was the piano from your childhood?
Yes.
From your childhood home?
Yes. And my parents got divorced when I was 9, and the piano was wrapped up at that point.
Oh.
And it followed me throughout my entire life, and it was never unwrapped from that point. And I came home from work one day, and Adrienne had the workers put it up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I came around the corner, and all of a sudden I saw the piano, and on the side of it is some gold fringe detailing. And it was stuck in my memory, so my mind went racing back to when I was a little boy. And they weren't great memories. I mean, they were.
I can remember the piano in my childhood home, so I could see why that would...
That's exactly what happened. You could hear a pin drop, so I went rushing back to that. And about the same time, we hung the painting up in the foyer that Adrienne's mother had painted, and it has good memories for Adrienne.
Really good memories.
And I was sitting there. I remember Adrienne was at the top of the stairs, and I was at the bottom, and I go, you know, if we ever write this book that everybody said we should write, we should call it The Painting and the Piano. And it just stuck. And
because these were both things from your childhood that brought back memories.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we going to start with? Your childhood or your childhood?
I can start.
Okay.
So I was born addicted to heroin in Bellevue Hospital.
What?
Yeah.
Because your mother was a heroin?
Yeah, 1962 in Bellevue. So shortly after that, I think I was placed in temporary foster care, but I was placed in a beautiful, loving home on Long Island with my parents, the Kahns, when I was 10 months old.
Oh, wow.
And I had a great childhood. I was little, but until I was 6, I didn't know. I thought they were my parents.
Sure.
Then when I was, 6, my mom sat me down and explained that I had another mommy and daddy, and she made it very positive. You have 2 mommies and daddies. And so we took a train ride into Manhattan to meet them. Yes. And
at 6 years old?
At 6 years old.
Wow. Were you ready for that?
I don't know. I was,
You're 6.
I was 6.
Yeah.
They made it very positive. And then I started seeing more of them. And I mean, to back up, my parents, my oldest brother is their biological son, and then my brother Harry is the middle son, but he came from the same foster agency as me.
Okay.
So when my mom went back to the foster agency, she said she would like a little girl who was adoptable. And at the time, I seemed adoptable. My biological father was here in Florida raising my biological sister. Excuse me.
Wow.
And my biological mother was in jail. So fast forward, I meet them, and and then there were more visits, and sometimes they'd drive out to Long Island. Sometimes they wouldn't show. Sometimes they'd sit for hours. And then when I was about 9, my mom sat me down and she said that they wanted me back. And
wow.
did I want to go
my goodness.
back? And I'm like, of course I don't want to go back. She said, well, we'll fight for you. And it was a long year court battle. And
they were your foster parents. They had not adopted you at that point.
Correct.
Okay.
And actually it was huge in the media. There were several other custody cases at that time, really high profile. So it was, followed by the national news as well. So
that must have been a tough fight, the biological parents versus
they were
the foster parents.
Yeah. The court system still, wanted to reunite a family, and the biological mother has rights. However, if you, looked into it more, I mean, they were, supposedly rehabilitated on methadone. And, just so anyway, I was forced to go back, and
oh, you were.
I was. And the day, and there's pictures in the book, the day I had to go back. And that was a couple of times she didn't show. So finally, the foster agency drove her out there. Every newspaper was on my front lawn, every news station. And it was, horrific, of course. It was the worst day of my life.
And so they came and took you away from your foster parents that you had known since birth?
Correct. And Elaine, my biological mother, put me on a plane that night to Florida to be with my biological father and sister and his family, his, sister and, her, my uncle and, his mother, my
so
grandmother.
You left New York, flew down here.
Mm-hmm. Never flew on a plane.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, and then when school started, I went back to Brooklyn, and, it was just 5 years of.
So you were with them for 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay. And it wasn't good, I guess.
No, it was hell.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was bad.
Really bad.
I mean, initially they tried to hold it together.
Mm-hmm.
And, but by the end they had split up. We were with him for a while, and then Elaine, the end was she was on welfare. She was back on heroin.
Oh.
And I mean, that was, and some.
Where was child services or someone to come and rescue you?
They finally did intervene because I reported at school. Well, I was bruised. And
oh, wow.
So finally, and even then, like the foster agency got back involved. However, Elaine would not let me, like I wanted to go to my parents on Long Island. My sister wanted to go back to Florida with her grandmother and her aunt. Like, the cousins are like siblings to her. And Elaine was spiteful and said no. So we went upstate. The only place she would let us go is to these friends upstate New York. And Herb said, when he dropped us off, he goes, she's probably going to die or end up in jail. And 4 months later, she died of liver failure.
Died. And then were you able to go back
And
with
then
her?
I was able to go back.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's...
I just gave it away, though. You still have to read the book.
All right, now let's go to you.
Yeah.
Well, the reason we wrote the book is we have so many parallels. So I was born to my parents in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and to a very affluent family, and my mother was an alcoholic. And there's a picture in the book on my first day on the planet, and she has a martini glass in her hand in the hospital bed.
Oh, no.
And that started off my life. And so for the first 9 years, I lived with my mother and my father. And at 9 years old, they came to us and said, we're going to get divorced. But I really have no memory of my mother at all. And recently I asked my dad, I go, how come I don't remember anything about Mom? He goes, well, that's real easy. We put her to bed early because she was already always intoxicated by the time you got home from school. So I grew up loving my nanny, and my nanny's name was Lizzie. And she was my mother for all practical purposes. And she cared for me and took care of me. So at 9, my parents were divorced, and my mother was sent away for 5 years. And 5 years later, and we had a great life.
Sent away to
Mayo Clinic in Baltimore at the time. They didn't know what to do with, especially with women, alcoholic women back in those days. And she had shock therapy.
Oh.
And I really didn't. I saw her 2 times over that 5-year period. And she came back to St. Louis, and I was 14 at the time. And there's a huge custody hearing. And it went on, and my mother at the time had a tremendous amount of money, and she actually won custody of my brother and sister, who are both younger than I am, but I got to choose to live with my father. So
because of your age?
Because of my age, because I was 14. And so the judge decided that I could live with my father, and the other 2 went with my mother, and we were split up. And which, looking back at it, I wish that we would have all stayed together. They should have put us together, but we didn't. And my mother... the memories of my mother in high school are passed out on the couch, you know, drunk with all the cigarette burns in the carpet, and you hear those horror stories. And I remember where I was standing, and I said, I'm never going to turn out like her. I'm never going to be an alcoholic. And in fact, I was on my way at that point. And at age 22, I was in college, and I got a call, and my mother had fallen for the last time and hit her head and was in a coma. She had fallen numerous times, and that's the most common way an alcoholic dies, is falling and hitting their heads.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And so I was called back from college and went and saw her in the hospital, and she had tubes coming out of her, and my uncle made a decision to pull the plug on her. And, you know, there were no tears, which is really sad. I didn't know her that well. And my mother was a socialite and had literally hundreds and hundreds of friends when she was in college and a teenager. And there were 20 parties, pre-parties for their wedding. And so she was well known, and at the funeral there were 5 people there. My brother, my sister, and I, my stepfather. Everybody. She isolated and pushed everybody out of her life. And so it's a really sad story. And our story continues, and we actually became our mothers.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And both our mothers passed away at age 47. So that was like one of the parallels.
Okay, so how old were you when your mother passed away?
I was 15.
And you
I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah. But they both passed away when they were 47. So
wow.
One day Adrian called me, and she goes, when did your mother pass away? I go, she was 47. He goes, so was mine. And then all of a sudden I go, we have these parallels going on, these big custody battles, and the judges interfering. And, the judges created these problems for us.
Right.
Really. And our mother's passing away at 47. So.
Okay, so then you two.
Well,
want to start?
Sure. Well, my addiction started, I guess, my 30s. I had several spinal surgeries and
painkillers.
So, obviously it's very common, very prevalent today. I was in a bad marriage. I married Elaine. My ex-husband is a heart surgeon, very controlling, extremely controlling, and it just got worse and worse. And you don't realize it when you're in it. It's very insidious. It just starts out with little things. And, it got to the point where if I ran into Target and forgot my cell phone, I was in a panic because I would get yelled at. And, so as time went by, I was just, I was definitely unhappy. and we made this big move to St. Louis from Iowa. He had started up a practice there, and then he's from St. Louis as well. So we moved back there, and the fighting just got worse. And really, finally, what happened was I made a conscious decision to start taking my pain meds. I remember the moment, like, I'm just miserable. I feel stuck, and so my disease really started to progress. And then my youngest daughter was diagnosed with a chronic illness, and I actually spent a whole day at the hospital. At first, they thought she had lymphoma, and anyway, long story short, it turned out that she has a blood disorder that would require infusions. 5 hours for the rest of her life. And so, I just said, I'm in a bad marriage, and now my daughter's sick. I need to get help. And so I had been in counseling. I said, I have a problem, and I went to rehab for 90 days in Newport Beach, and I came back, and in Newport, out there, we would have a 6:30 a.m. AA meeting we'd ride our bikes to. So when I got home, I wanted to do what I had done there. So I looked, and there was an AA meeting literally 2 doors down. There was a church, and it met every day at 7 a.m. And I went in.
And you went? Okay.
And I walked in, and I went to get some coffee, and I meet this handsome gentleman, and he says, "You look very familiar." And I said, "Well," he had a dog fencing company, and I said, "Well, you put in a couple of fences for me."
Oh, you're kidding.
And so we became fast friends, and I'm going to let you talk about your story. We'll switch back and forth like the book.
Like the book does. So at 14, my mother, we were forced by the court my brother and sister live with my mother, and I live with my father. But that's really when I started drinking. And it was kind of the typical high school on the weekends. But I always drank differently than most other people. I always drank to excess. And that kind of continued on the weekends till I got into college, and then it became daily, and without all the hubbub, it was 20 years of hard drinking. And I was a daily blackout drinker.
Really?
And there weren't a lot of consequences. I actually had a lot of fun in my 20s, and you can imagine all the times and the traveling and the good friends. But from my 30 to 40, it was misery drinking. And I was married, and so when I was 30, around 35, 36, I noticed I started drinking on daily, but earlier and earlier in the day, and things weren't right. And we were living in Texas at the time, and I moved my whole family back to St. Louis to be back with my old friends and the connection. And
that's where she had moved to.
Fluency.
Her family, okay.
So I moved back to St. Louis, and I immediately got into that group again, and I started drinking and going out at night and drinking, and then I got involved in an alcoholic affair. And the worst memory of my story, and still, is that backing out of my driveway, and my 4-year-old and 2-year-old are waving to me from the dining room window, and I can't stop myself. I'm backing out to go have this affair and go drink. And it still just burned into my brain. It will be till the day I die.
Wow.
But I couldn't stop. The disease had such a hold on me. Anyway, we ended up getting divorced, but that didn't slow my drinking down at all for the next
it made it worse,
few years.
Maybe.
I just drank and drank and drank, and then finally, December 17th, which is my birthday, I was 40 years old. I'd been drinking, getting up a year earlier. I started drinking first thing in the morning, 5 or 5:30 in the morning, to stop the shakes. I had the shakes so bad. It was maintenance. It was maintenance drinking. I had to do it. I had no choice. And I go, maybe there's something wrong here. Now I thought there might be an issue. And so from December 17th, my birthday, it's the last meal I had until January 5th, which is my sobriety date. So I didn't eat for 3 weeks almost. And I'd drink for 2 hours, and then I would pass out, and drink for hours. The disease had such a hold on me, no food. So I was basically killing myself, and without consciously making an effort to do it. And I just couldn't break it. And then finally, it was January 4th, and I called my girlfriend's mother to yell at my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend at that point. And she goes, "If I make an appointment for you, will you go check to see if you're okay and if you're an alcoholic?" So for some reason, I agreed, because all my girlfriend's mothers I kind of thought they were my mothers because I never had a mother growing up. So I agreed to do it for her out of respect. And I went in, and it was a 20-question John Hopkins test, and I got a 20. It was the first 100 I've ever had in my life. And, but I was in really bad shape. My skin was yellow. I mean, I always say when I went to the treatment center, I looked in the mirror, my eyes were black, my face was yellow, the whites of my eyes were yellow. I had gout. I had 3 DWIs. IRS I hadn't paid in 3 years. I had a mountain of problems. You know, I was basically broke. I mean, and it was bad. So I remember sitting on the table and the doctor's taking my pulse, and he goes, "Who's your primary care physician?" He goes, "Because we need to find out if we can get you some medication immediately, or you're going to have a heart attack or a stroke right now." So I took it probably over the edge. I took it about as far as you could, and I went to detox for 5 days, and after that I started going to AA and went to outpatient. It was so, they put me on Librium right away. It's like you're walking in slow motion. And so, but they had a meeting upstairs, an AA meeting. So that's what got me started. And it was the coldest day in St. Louis in years, like almost historical. And that's the day I checked in. And I started outpatient too, and I was miserable, absolutely 100% miserable. And I was going to start drinking again. And it's right at 6 weeks, my counselor said, "Will you write a letter to your mother?" And I go, "Why am I going to write a letter to my dead mother?" And she goes, "Just shut up and just do it." So I went home and I bawled for 3 hours and wrote a 2-page letter. And I didn't realize all the anger and resentment I had towards my mother. And then she made me read it in front of the group that night. And right there and then I felt this dark gray cloud lift off of my shoulder.
Really?
And I haven't had a desire or compulsion to drink, and it's been over 19 years.
Do you still go to AA meetings?
Yep.
Okay, both of you?
Yes.
We both do. And our lives just skyrocketed, just took off. Business thrived, everything thrived. I sold my business a few years ago. We ended up on the beach down here.
Oh.
So it's turned out well, and our daughters, you know.
So you both got together when you met in that AA class, but you were still married at the time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I knew before I went, I had a feeling before I went to treatment that my ex-husband was having an affair. And in fact, he was. So he moved out shortly after I got home. And then really several months after he moved out, I filed for divorce. And actually, you know, my sponsor was going out of town. I used to call her every morning. You know, I knew I had to stay sober. Like, you know, relapse wasn't an option. I knew we were headed for divorce. I couldn't take the chance of losing my girls.
Right.
So my sponsor is going out of town, and, you know, in AA, you're not supposed to, you know, have a male sponsor or anything like that. But she said, you know, if you can't get a hold of me, call John. He's safe.
Okay.
So we became really good friends, and I called him every night, and then obviously we fell in love, and you know, went through a brutal divorce. It was a rough year and a half, but you know, came out the other side and moved in with 3 girls and 3 dogs. He says he's up for sainthood.
Yeah. 3 teenage girls. You
Three
said.
teenage girls.
Wow. Girls. But we get along great. And,
Yeah.
you know, I love them to death. They love me.
Aw.
So it worked out. It wasn't a chaotic move. It really worked. We really blended well. You know, it wasn't
Except for the day that we all moved in and our St. Bernard took out the mailbox.
Yeah, the day that
St. Bernard on top of all this?
Oh, yeah. A golden retriever, a St. Bernard, and a Yorkie. And he loves to tell this story.
Well, the 3 girls moved in the house, and there was a bedroom for each of them, and so they brought all their friends over, and I'd lived kind of a monk-style existence up to that point. They were running around and screaming and yelling with their friends, and I looked like a deer in headlights. And the next morning I go, they can never have friends over again. They have to be in bed by 10 o'clock. And that night, too, the dog was running along the front of the street and took down the mailbox. So I got clever, and I put up a brick mailbox. And the next time he came in, he had a gash over his eye. So I got a little smile out of that. But it worked out really well, and we have this amazing life today because of it all. But we went through hell and back, and and everybody kept saying, you guys got to write a book. And you know, we didn't have time. I had no time. My business was so big. And once I sold the business, we go, well, what am I going to do now? We go, maybe we should look into writing the book. And we knew nothing about writing or publishing, and it's
And
come
this
a long,
might be
long
made
way.
into a movie.
Yeah, it might be made into a movie. Sharon
Okay.
Stone's looked at it. We got picked up a year ago by HCI Publishing, which is in Deerfield Beach, and they publish Chicken Soup for the Soul. So we signed a contract with them, and we speak, and we're on TV, and we won a bunch of awards. And so we've come a long way, but it's helped a lot of people, and that's why we wrote it. We get emails and texts and phone calls every day saying, thank you for writing this book. And that's why we wrote it. We're not doing this to get rich and famous. It's really to help people.
I mean, the feedback that we've gotten is amazing. I mean, I got a message from a woman in Seattle, Washington, like thanking me for writing the book. Like, you just don't know who you're helping. And that's what makes it, you know, all worthwhile. And, you know, I sponsor women, and, you know, I'm just devoted to a life in recovery and really being of service to other people, you know, because addicts and alcoholics, we're a little self-centered. And so that's what, you know, part of recovery is about, is giving back and helping someone else. And
inspiring other people. They can do it.
And that's what our words are for, inspiration. And at the end of the day, it's a love story. It's actually, we go back and forth, and it turns into a love story, and that's what category we're under, love stories. I mean, so it's actually a love story. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's good that you both, alcoholic and addict, are together, because if either one of you was married to someone that was not, there would be a lot more temptation there, correct?
Right. Oh, I think it would be very. I wouldn't even attempt it. I don't think I could sit across a table
and watch someone else drink.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it. Yeah.
And it's the behavior. We kind of laugh, like when we go to parties, you know, we get there a little, you know, after it starts and leave early, because once you've heard the same story 3 times, it's time to go.
Yeah, imagine it would be a little difficult being at a cocktail party and being the ones that aren't drinking.
Right, but we go out and we go to dinner, and so it doesn't bother us at all, and we're around most of our friends drink, and it's not a big issue at all. And but we have tons to do with sober people too. I mean, we're an active crew. I mean, we do a lot.
Which is
we do a
really
lot.
nice that we have friends. You know, both.
So we have both,
Yeah.
Interesting story. It's called The Painting and the Piano. And where can someone get this book?
It's on Amazon. That's probably the easiest and best place, or HCI Publishing. You can order it from them also. And Barnes & Noble. They're not in the stores, but you can order them online through Barnes & Noble. So.
And so it's a love story.
It's a tandem narrative.
Okay.
So a tandem narrative means, so Adrian's chapter, then I'm chapter, so it goes back and forth until we come together when we meet in that meeting, and then it turns into a love story that point. Yeah, so it worked out really, the chemistry worked out well, and the parallels and the timing worked out really well, and it just kind of keeps growing. It's very well written. We put a lot of time and effort to make sure that it was, and so it's been quite a journey.
So now you've kind of retired down here to Florida?
Well, not completely. I'm selling real estate with Stephen Presson and Corcoran up in Delray. And so I do that, and Adrian sells
I'm selling India Hicks. I don't know if you know who India Hicks is, but she comes from British royalty. She just did all the TV shows last weekend, and it's direct sales company. And she started 3 years ago, and I've been doing it for about a year, and it's just really fun. It's a lifestyle brand.
So what are the products?
Accessories, like these earrings, a bracelet, purses. It's really fun. And women have parties in their home, and it's been a lot of fun. And, you know, it's an opportunity to meet more women down here, and I really enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah, we stay very busy.
We're busy.
Yeah.
And you seem to be very happy, too, together, so that's wonderful.
We are. Everything's worked out really well.
I mean, honestly, I never thought I'd have a relationship like this. So.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Okay, we got to go to break here. Be back in a couple minutes. Bye-bye.
Dr. Candace Colella of Colella Cosmetic Dentistry in Coconut Creek provides family and cosmetic dentistry for patients of all ages and is the only dentist in South Florida offering Solea laser dentistry. No pain, no anesthesia, no shots. With over 23 years of experience, Dr. Colella does fast braces, dental implants, veneers, and more. She can even finish off your smile with Botox, fillers, and lip augmentation. Call 954-428-6923 or visit yoursensationalsmile.com.
You've been listening to and watching The Becky and Boca Show. Ivy Lee's Luxe Makeup and Beauty Lounge in downtown Boca Raton does fabulous professional makeup application. Make an appointment today and see how glamorous you can look. Call 561-409-4065 to book your appointment. Ivy Lee's Luxe Makeup and Beauty Lounge is located at 233 South Federal Highway on the first floor of the Boca Grand Building in Boca Raton. The number again is 561-409-4065. And now, back to the show.
Hello, welcome back to the second half of the Becky and Boca Show. My guest now is Leslie Carmen. She's from Carmen Laser Center? Is that
Carmen
correct?
Care Laser,
Carmen
yes.
Care Laser.
Hi,
Okay.
Becky.
Hi. My friend Dylan Lang was telling me all about you and all the things you can do with your laser treatments. Some of them pretty amazing.
Yes, thank you.
So go ahead and start.
Sure, of course. So we have a center in Boca Raton. It's called Carmen Care Laser.
Okay, where is it?
It's on 2nd Avenue, which is a parallel street to Dixie, and it's just
Right.
a bit south of Spanish River.
Oh, it's in the neighborhood.
It is,
Very
yeah,
close.
very
Okay.
close. Yeah, it takes me just a few minutes
Yeah.
to get here.
Okay.
And we've just celebrated our 5-year anniversary. So
Okay.
it's very, very exciting. And we've treated people from, name it. We can start from the top. Migraine, headaches, cervical pain, neck pain. People have loss of range
With
of
lasers?
motion. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Back pain, knee pain, shoulder, all those things. And we're going into more serious diseases and illnesses such
That's
as...
what Dylan told me. That's what I'm interested in.
Yes,
Okay.
Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, then chronic fatigue, Lyme disease. You know what my daughter had, trigeminal neuralgia, just different neurological conditions that we're really being very successful with.
The one that I'm most intrigued with, if you don't mind starting with, is
Sure.
Alzheimer's. How do you treat Alzheimer's with the laser?
Well, that's a great question. What we do is not just laser. We also look at the patient's history and understand where were they? What did they do in their life? Because I have a very strong belief that most of conditions are coming from a toxification. We're too toxic.
Right.
There are so many toxins in the air, chemical trails, in the water, aluminum, deodorant has aluminum, all the food we're eating. We're just loaded with toxins. And it's the environment that is
And
really
you think that plays a
affecting-
role in Alzheimer's?
I do, because what it is, it's affecting the brain. Heavy metals sit in the brain. All those different toxins are just in the brain, and it just kind of slows the whole healing process down in our own body, because we're really human beings that are meant to heal all the time.
Oh, okay.
Every minute that you're sitting here, 96 million cells are dying, but thank goodness 96 million cells are regenerating.
Okay.
And that's a process. We are constantly doing that. Your liver regenerates every 6 months. Your femur bone, I think it's every 7 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're constantly regenerating. That's what we are. So while you're doing that, you're healing your own body. But what happens is when your body gets out of balance. So how does it get out of balance? Stress is a big thing, right? We don't sleep, we have so much going on in our life that we get out of balance, and that's when disease starts to happen. Another stress factor can be the environment. So too much chlorine in the water, too much dioxin in the food. Now, apparently, dioxin is starting to show up everywhere. It's showing up in the milk, because why? The cows are eating the grass that got the pesticides, the herbicides on it. So it's showing up in the meat, in the milk. So unfortunately, we can't escape from that. And, that's okay, because we live where we are, and that's correct. We love where we are, but we just have to kind of find a way. How can we, get better as people, so that we can start detoxing and enjoying our life again healthy. So when you detox your body, your cells can start breathing properly again, and you start healing again. Mm-hmm. So that's how all that comes together with the Alzheimer's.
Okay.
Then we detox from the heavy metals, and we find out what's in the person's brain that's kind of sitting there. And once we've done that, parallel, we're treating with the laser. And there have been a lot of studies out there that the lasers that we treat with reduce traumatic brain injury. We
So let me back up here.
Yeah.
So you're treating with a laser to the brain?
Yeah, we just put it. It sounds like crazy. Woo,
Yeah.
brain, right? Oh my
Okay.
God, what's happening here? No, it's very easy. You lie down on the bed. We have the laser, and we just go back and forth, back and forth. It's nice and warm. It's also called photobiomodulation. That's a bit of a less scary word.
Okay.
And it's light that's penetrating deep into the cells and into the brain.
And what
going
does it
deep.
do?
It stimulates the mitochondria of each individual cell. So our cells have mitochondria, sometimes up to about 200. And the mitochondria is like the powerhouse. That's where the energy exchange is happening. So
Okay.
when we're giving light to the mitochondria, that energy exchange is happening faster and faster and faster. It's like you're wakening up the cells. You're nearly
Okay.
wakening something up. And by doing that, those cells all know what to do. They know the certain red blood cells know to bring oxygen to a certain area. Every cell has a job. And all these cells function beautifully together. But when they lack this energy, oxygen, and so forth, they don't work as well. So by giving laser, you're giving actually that energy in there that produces oxygen and makes the cells work better and work faster. So you're rehabilitating the brain tissue.
So have you seen results in Alzheimer's patients?
We have seen, yes, we have seen, but I can't really talk too much about those, and I'll tell you why. Up until now, I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose, right? So up until now, I've had people come to me and say, I have Alzheimer's, I've been diagnosed with that, we've treated them, and we've seen results. But that doesn't mean anything because the doctor didn't really follow the whole course. We now have Dr. Wolf on board. He's our neurologist. He's been with us for 5 years, but he's here now every Thursday and Friday in the clinic. And we now have a neurologist greeting the patient, taking notes, doing the first consultation with them and saying, yes, the patient has Alzheimer's. This is good, confirming that.
Okay.
Now we can treat. Then he reevaluates and we can say we got better. So my personal experience, yes, we've seen amazing results, but I can't really say, for sure because I wasn't able to diagnose.
What kind of results have you observed?
So basically their gait becomes better. Their memory becomes better. Maybe I can share an example with my mom that I think I can do. She's done laser and she had her carotid artery was all clogged. She couldn't even feel her pulse. So we have a very specific laser that we use there to bring oxygen to the brain. And just a few months later, she's able to feel her pulse again.
Wow.
So that's really brought in the circulation. Also, we can just tell that she's fantastic at bridge now. She wins all the time. She's not as forgetful because my sister and I were seeing, we're starting to see some kind of changes, and we were getting just a little bit worried. And now after the laser treatments, she's just much more coherent. She's just up and about. And she's 87, and she's still winning at bridge, right? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's that. Then something similar to Alzheimer's, in the region is Parkinson's disease.
I was going to ask about that next.
So a very good friend of mine had Parkinson's, and that's how I got to doing this. He was a musician, and I'm allowed to share his information. He has a video online and so forth.
Okay.
He came in and he had loss of smell. He was trembling, shaking, and he would, in the waiting room, he couldn't stand well. He was just not very secure in his gait. So after the 30 treatments, we did 30 treatments, he was able to walk much better. He even did a little dance in the waiting room.
Oh, wow.
His smell returned.
Really?
Yep. And he just felt so much more alert and less anxious, had less depression, was able to work much better, was able to go out on stage and play better. So the thing, though, that we have to continue, then he regresses again. After 2 years, he came for another session.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At that time, I didn't know much about the detoxing. So, this is all evolving,
It's all
right,
new.
as we go along. Exactly. So we started to do detox, and that helped him even further. So what we're trying to do is see if we could ever get a study together with maybe 10 Parkinson's patients that were in an early age, because he already had, so I think he's in his 60s or so, and he had already had it quite a few years. So anybody who's newly diagnosed, what happens if we can start right away before all these things happen and the brain gets used to having these symptoms? So, and we could do a study with that and see, where can we end up that, patients get better. But I know that he went to his neurologist, and his neurologist was very astonished at his progress.
Really?
Yes. He said, normally with your disease, you should be much more progressing. Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
It is.
Okay, what else can you treat?
All right, let me think. Okay, so, a lot of things. So what I'm really excited about now is endometriosis. That's
Dylan had mentioned that. Okay.
Yeah. So that's girls have, some have very painful menstrual cramps. Some girls are just in bed, debilitated when they have, their men's cycle. They're just, either throwing up or they can't get out of bed. I mean, it's really, really horrible.
Yeah, I knew someone like that.
Yep. And so a lot of the girls have surgery. Some of them even have hysterectomies very, very young. And we've found that when we can detox from dioxin, which is that herbicide again, that the girls' pain kind of disappears.
Really?
And I found that out when I did that with my daughter. And she didn't have much pain. She just had a lot of men's cramps. And we tested her, and she had dioxin. So I detoxed. And
So
I'll tell you how to
do you
test.
detox?
I know, it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
So we have these vials. And maybe anybody who's been to a homeopathic physician or they've gone to a chiropractor, they'd like to use that. So these are little vials that have the energetic imprint of a toxin.
Okay.
And we just test it energetically with muscle testing, meaning we put the toxin on your body, just lay it there, and put your arm out, press down on your arm. And if you have the toxin, your body's actually going to tell us that.
Really?
And it's the same. I love to compare with a lie detector. So you put these little things on the finger, right, and you're measuring the current of the body, and you're asking somebody a true or false answer. Well, your body's never going to lie. So if you say something that's not true, the needle's going to go out because there's a reaction. It's all energy. So that's how that is. When we put this toxin on your body and we're asking your body, do you resonate with this toxin? If yes, if you have that toxin, your body's going to be weak. It's like a fight or flight response. You have it and you like, oh, I have it, and so you're going to get weak. If you don't have it, your body stays strong. It doesn't need to show that there's a weakness there.
Okay.
And once we've found and determined which toxin the patient has, then we have a pulse laser. So we have all different kinds of lasers in the clinic. A pulse laser, we put this toxin into the pulse laser. Now what happens when I turn the laser on, the light goes on, it goes through this vial, which now the light goes through there, and the frequency of this toxin sits on the light, which now is carried into the body when we shine the light on you. And then you have this same frequency in your body matching the frequency in the light. It kind of collides and vibrates and is released in the body.
Wow.
And sometimes people, it helps them if I tell them, if you'd have a wall full of tuning forks, C, D, E, F, and so forth, and you come with a C tuning fork and you hit the C tuning fork and hold it towards all those tuning forks, only the C tuning fork is going to vibrate, right? Nothing else. Why? It matches it. And that's kind of how I look at the toxins, because we do one detox at a time, one toxin at a time.
Wow. And how do you determine what toxins people have in their bodies?
With that muscle testing. So a patient will come in and we'll have the first session is usually a longer session, and they lie down. And I usually kind of ask a little bit ahead of time, why are they here? Do you have sinuses, or do you have, endometriosis? And then I'll kind of know where to start looking. And then I'll put that toxin on the patient, and they'll react to it. And then I'll know that that's what needs to be detoxed. And usually a couple of things,
And how long does this process take?
So the detoxing itself is very, very quick. It's just with that laser, a few times swiping up and down, a couple of things we do. So maybe 10 minutes. But sometimes people will have a reaction just for about 24 to 48 hours, and they might get a little sick. They might have flu symptoms. They might have a terrible headache, or they might feel extremely tired. And that's when it's so interesting. People will come back and think, wow, you just waved that light, and I thought this is hocus pocus. And now it's amazing. Like I was, either, very, very tired, or I had tons of energy, or I felt very sick. It just depends what toxin I'm detoxing.
Oh,
and
that's
they have a
very
different,
interesting.
I know, right? Very, very interesting. Yeah. So it just really all depends.
Okay. And what other services? I know Dylan told me you do lots of things.
We do
there
lots
with
of things.
lasers.
So then we also have a section. It's called the Bella shape, B with a B, Bella. And that is a machine that you lie down, and it helps us with reducing the fat, the cellulite.
So this is a weight loss one.
It's a weight loss.
Okay,
yes.
that's what I was waiting for.
Yeah,
okay,
so and facial, so you can get rid of wrinkles in the face. And it also stimulates the lymphatic drainage, which is great because your lymph is like in your house. You have your what is it called? I'm thinking, what's the word? Your plumbing system. There you go. And when your plumbing system is all clogged, you'd get a backup and you'd get all the toxins in your body. So when you want your body to really function properly, you do a lymphatic massage. And that machine does that. You go up and down the legs, the arms, the back, the abdominal area, and it really massages all the lymph. It uses a little bit of suction.
Okay.
Yep. It's a different technology because this one has LEDs, which is for the diode laser lights. So, and you also have the infrared. You have so there are different types of lasers that are in there. And so the light is causing the fat walls, membranes of the fat cells to become permeable. And the laser light is liquefying the cells. And at the same time, you're kind of crunching on the cells and it's pushing the fat out of the cells and then out into the lymphatic system.
So how well does that work for?
That works really, really
for weight
well.
loss?
Yes. I don't want to really say weight loss because it's more a reduction of the cellulite or the fat cells. So you can't lose fat cells, but you reduce the fat that is within the fat cells. Yes, the fat cells. Yeah, the size of it, exactly. Yeah. And then stretch marks, or then we've had people with scars, and it helps very well to reduce the appearance of the scars.
The laser.
And that specific Roboderm technology.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we do as well.
All right, tell me about getting rid of wrinkles with the laser.
So that's that machine. It has a very specific head, and we just go over the face all the time. And it's kind of, again, that Roboderm, that's the one that we use. And it builds up elastin and collagen.
It doesn't have like little needles in it?
No pain. So everything that we do in the clinic is all non-invasive, no pain. I'm very, very, proud of that, and it's important that everybody leaves feeling great and feeling good.
And how to get rid of the wrinkles? I know people are going to be very interested in this. Is it instantaneous or
not quite?
Okay.
It depends. So with the fat, you can many times see a very quick result. But with the wrinkles, it does usually take a little bit because you're building collagen and elastin, and that will always take a little bit of time.
Right.
But usually after about 10 sessions, people see a result. They see their skin is smoother.
And then it probably continues over the months because I know it takes a long time to build.
Yeah. And then
collagen.
We usually recommend a maintenance just because, we're out in the sun all the time. We're working. We're getting older. Unfortunately, our cells do age. Darn it.
That's true.
But so then if you just do a maintenance once a month or so, that keeps it up, and it's very affordable and it's relaxing. Like everything that we do is relaxing. People fall asleep, or they just enjoy our music, and they just enjoy being pampered.
Okay, so it's not like some of those painful treatments, like
not at all.
All therapy.
No,
that one's
no. Yeah, it's very painful, and ours is not. And the difference between, there are some companies that freeze the cell. So what happens there?
Oh yeah. Okay.
If you're freezing the cells, you're just freezing them, but they go out of that specific area, the fat, but it can sometimes redeposit.
That's what I've heard.
Yes, and why I really chose this machine is because, again, we do that lymphatic drainage first with everybody. Even when you do the face, we do the,
you do it on the face too?
Yeah, well, there are lymph that just go all along here and down and along the chest. So we open that all up first so that any kind of toxins, or if there's anything there, that it's going to just flush out and you're going to heal much better. You're bringing the blood flow also to the face that way.
Okay.
So when we do that, the lymphatic, we're opening those channels up. So now when we do get rid of the fat, it goes out through the waste system. And then people usually have to go to the bathroom really quickly.
So you pee it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's basically why ours works. And the other thing is, when you get rid of the fat by just freezing it, you still have that loose skin.
I was going to ask about skin tightening, if there's any skin tightening properties here.
Right. That's why that Roboderm, that kind of crunches, and you can see a video online, CarmenCareLaser.com, hit Bella Shape, and you're going to see the video of how it works. And so it's like crunching, and it's energizing those skin cells, and again, creating collagen and elastin through that mechanism.
And then when you've created all that collagen and elastin, does it stay with you?
It will stay to a certain extent, right? I mean, that's the thing. Unfortunately, these things are not really long lasting, as we can say, because we are aging, right? So it just really depends on your lifestyle. If you're going to put, moisturizer on and you're taking care and you're not out on the sun, and, then you can keep it much, much longer.
Okay, so then you have to redo a maintenance treatment.
Yes, like with the face. Now, the fat stays off. Obviously, again, lifestyle, right? If you take care of what you eat and you work out, it's really good. So what we've seen for people who have been working out and they have that last little bit of fat that's just not going away. When we can do a detox, because I don't know if you know this, but your body doesn't know what to do with these toxins, right, that it has. So what does it do? It creates little fat pockets and stores the toxins in there. That's why you see these young girls with a little belly sometimes. You're like, how do they have a belly? They're so skinny. Right? How do they have that? But it's because the toxins are just sitting in there until the body gets a command. Hey, now I know what to do with it. But they don't. It's just going to sit there.
This Bella...
So the Bella will help with that, and the detoxing will help with that as well. The laser that I was talking about before, the laser detox, will help get rid of the toxins like that, and the Bella will smooth it out.
And you just do it over the problem area?
Right over the problem area. And it works out really, really great. So we're so excited to have
wonderful.
That. Yes, it is.
It really does.
It is.
And in Boca Raton, everybody goes to the gym, everybody's fit.
Yeah.
But like you said, everybody's not right where they want to be.
Yes,
so
just that little
this would be a little
sometimes.
tool that you could actually tweak with.
Exactly, yep.
Okay.
And I've even had young girls, which that's why I know about the fat, with the detoxing itself, very young girls that came in for, pain and different things like that. We got rid of the toxins, and they came in and they say, I actually lost 2 pounds. And I'm like, wow, how did you lose 2 pounds? There's hardly anything to lose. But it just really shows that those toxins are held by some fat cells. And once you release those, then the fat cells can go out too.
Wow. Okay, so if someone came to you, you do a total diagnosis first?
Yes. So again, I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose.
Right.
But I see the patient, and we sit down and I just ask, what is your painful condition? Where do you come from? It's important sometimes to know where the people grew up, because I think I'm always thinking toxins.
Really? Oh, where's the worst place?
Well, a lot of times New York, unfortunately, or,
really?
It's very polluted. So you just listen to what state and where they grew up, and then what are your symptoms. So if somebody says, I'm all clogged up, I have a nose, nose.
There's a lot of that in Florida with all the allergies.
Exactly. Then I start thinking mold. I start going mold, or then sulfur can cause that, or have you had lots of antibiotics? That can cause that. So I just listen to what the patient has to say, and just put my thoughts together on, okay, so where does this all come together? What can we treat? And it's really not that complex, actually. It's usually some molds or some heavy metals, and then the laser just really helps with the detoxing as well, and just stimulating your cells to repair and to regenerate. I mean, you're the one doing the healing. We're doing nothing.
Right, you're just helping to stimulate the healing. Well, that's interesting.
We're not doing anything at all, but you're doing the healing.
So it works for endometriosis.
Yep.
It works for Alzheimer's, and it works for Parkinson's?
Parkinson's, yeah.
Any other major?
Yes, like chronic fatigue, migraine headaches, debilitating migraine headaches. It's fantastic for that. Literally anything that would be painful, or, that is causing you a problem. Now, obviously, the more chronic, the better it is for us, because you've already seen so many doctors and nobody can find out what you have.
Yeah.
And those are my favorite patients, because I know,
so
okay,
I'm
good,
mystery.
I'm safe.
Okay.
Well, I just know I'm safe,
Yeah.
There's no cancer, there's no this, there's no tumor, there's nothing major in that sense going wrong.
There's just
where
something else wrong and they can't figure it out.
Exactly.
Oh, I have someone for you.
Oh, okay, great. So, and obviously we need to see the real physician when we have all those things, tumors and all those things, but we come in place when you talk about chronic illness, when nobody knows what you have.
Right,
when
and I
you've
know
seen
people
everybody.
that go from doctor to doctor to doctor trying to find a diagnosis, and they rule out
everything. And that's perfect for me, because then I'm safe, right? Because I can be like, okay, so now let me address all the things out of the box. And then they get better. And that's why we have such success, because everything else is ruled out. It'll be a toxin, or it'll be something that just needs laser light that your body can heal. And we have fantastic success.
Okay, let me ask you, is this stuff covered by insurance? Or
Unfortunately
is this...
not.
No.
I wish it was. And I hope it will be one day. That would really be our plan, because it makes me really cry sometimes to think how many people are suffering and that need help, and it's not available to them because insurance is not covering it. And it's just I hope it'll change.
Why does insurance cover things like this?
I don't know exactly what the reason. I think a lot of people still call this hocus pocus, because in the traditional medicine, you believe that you're a body. That's it. You're a piece, and it doesn't work. You cut it out and you replace it. But I think in these days we're understanding that we are much more than just matter. We're energy. And there have been a lot of group of people that believe that, but it just takes a while for us all to believe it. And once we really understand that we are beings of light and energy beings, and that it's the frequency that does the healing, the light that does the healing, then we will start understanding how this all really works, and people will respect it and not put it down anymore.
Does this work for cancer patients at all?
We stay away from cancer. I would say yes. And the reason why I'm saying yes is the following. There are more and more studies coming up that laser is being treated with cancer, and cancer is being treated with laser.
Yeah.
But this is how I look at cancer. People who have a lot of sugar are feeding their cancer, right? So that's what feeds cancer, not oxygen. If you have oxygen, you're going to kill out the cancer. So like people take hyperbaric chamber and they get rid of their cancer.
Okay.
Or their cancer cells go down. Now, if you build up your immune system, you're going to be able to be stronger to fight the cancer. So that's kind of how I say with laser, we can build up your immune system.
Okay.
So that
to help
you can
fight it.
To
So
help
it's
you
another
fight it.
tool.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we just got a couple of minutes here.
Sure.
Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, it's just a very pleasure to be here. And if anybody wants to reach us,
your phone number or website.
Yep. So the website is Carmen Care Laser with 2 C's, CARMEN, and then CARE laser.com.
Okay.
And the phone number is 561-405-9577.
And you're right here in East Boca Raton.
We're right here in East Boca Raton. Yep.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Leslie.
I
This was
thank
very
you.
interesting,
Thank
particularly
you.
the ones about the major diseases that seem to be very positive. So,
yeah,
thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And everybody, I'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. Bye.
You have been watching and listening to The Becky and Boca Show. Tune in every Thursday night at 6 p.m. to discover all the ways to spoil yourself and have a good time in beautiful Boca Raton. See you next week.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program
59577. We